Good morning. Like some coffee? Or good night if you're on the west coast of the Americas. Good afternoon, I imagine, if you're in Australia or Hong Kong or Singapore or the Philippines. The Philippines must be surely in afternoon now. 6:30 here at the Sea of Galilee. Had lovely swim this morning, lovely bicycle exercise out here under the stars. And we have a special guest today at Sunrise Stroll and Chat. The lady who walks on the water in the Sea of Galilee. Kind of special, right? I think our sun is going to be delayed today because we got a lot of cloud. You see all that cloud? Like, let's go over here to compare. Right behind the palm tree. Oh, let me set you down here. And 2 hands for this. So you got the Golan is very clear there, right behind the palm tree. But look to the left, and you see all that cloud. So that's going to block the sun's appearance for a while. Well, that's the way it is. But I think we have plenty of time to see the sunrise. So God willing, in a little bit. So let's stroll around while we're waiting for the sun to come. And we can cover a little bit of turf before that. The Mount of Beatitudes is very clear. The Mount of Beatitudes always warms the heart, doesn't it? Blessed are the peacemakers. So we're right out between those palm trees there. That's the Mount of Beatitudes. So you have 4 trees to the right and 1 other palm tree there. And that's, there are our little guys, our squadron. Invader parrots. Plague in Europe today. So there we have the Mount of Beatitudes. We were up there last week, you remember? Actually, last Friday we were up with the hermit. Before the shutdown, and we're getting a more intensive shutdown now. Kind of a lot of people did it loosely, but there's a clamp down coming today because this whole corona business is really testing people's nerves, right? And people don't know what to do, so we're living in a world we don't control, and we're at the mercy of the Lord and His kindness and goodness. So this is beautiful Magdala, place of another very interesting lady who had the greatest story to tell ever. The first one. You know, to be first is very important to get the most likes. To be the first to break the news, you know. About the new baby, about the person being very sick, critically ill, just died. They did that for you guys. They might be back again. You know, we're doing this for a long time, and there I see Michael in there from Nashville. He's there all the time. Almost the first every day. So we have a nice crowd this morning. So you know what we'll do? We're waiting for the sun. So let's do a little bit. I don't want to go over too close to the tent because that guy might be asleep. So we'll try not to wake him too much. So let's do a little bit of reading so that we're ahead of the game there. And then we will talk to the lady who walks on the water. So our readings today are very interesting. You know, we're continuing here with Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, this very wise guy who lived, and I'm not saying that in a funny way, okay, or in a derogatory way. He's a really wise guy. And he's carrying, he's bringing together a lot of wisdom, a lot of human experience. But it's also in the context of revelation, the context of the God, creator, provident, Redeemer calling us, calling his people. So there's an appointed time for everything. And a time for every good thing under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot the plant. Now that's something you understand as a farmer. I remember planting the cabbage plants. A couple of hundred cabbage plants. And there was a time to do that. You didn't do that in September or October or November. You did that once the ground was not too frozen, or we didn't get too much frozen ground in Ireland actually, but probably in March, depending on the weather. Plant the potatoes, plant the cereals. I remember always around Easter time we were planting. Here they're doing harvest, for the barley harvest for Easter, the wheat harvest for Pentecost, but in Ireland we were sowing at the time. A time to tear down and a time to build. I remember a time in our German novitiate there. I was blessed to be involved with that for so many years and starting it off, and we were we got a place in Switzerland to start a school. And so the novices came. Can you imagine young men, 19, 20, 21, maybe 18, the amount of energy they have, the amount they eat. So their task was to tear down all the dividing walls in the building. And they loved it. They were smashing and breaking. And these young men that are starting into a lifetime of prayer and contemplation, learning the life of prayer, the life of following Jesus and his community, and now they get sledgehammers in their hands and pickaxes and they're tearing down stuff. They were so happy. A time to tear down and a time to build. And just imagine all the building we were doing here. This was a time to build. And Magdala went through its time to tear down. I'm not sure if it was really planned from heaven, but it was tolerated by heaven, and the battles and the wars. So a time to build and a time to tear down. These are things we understand. A time to weep and a time to laugh. You're at a funeral, it's not a time for laughing, although sometimes we tell jokes. It's kind of a way to deal with the sorrow. And there's a time to weep. Especially when there's an accident and a kid is killed. It's very sad. You don't go in there laughing. When there's an 85-year-old or a 95-year-old and you tell a lot of jokes about what they experienced and everything. A time to mourn and a time to dance. You can't be dancing always. You can have a machine that does that or a little puppet, but there's times you can't dance. You got a toothache. There's tension in the family. A time to embrace and a time to be far from embraces. So many different times in human life. A time to be silent and a time to speak. So important, isn't it? Even here on the Sunrise Stroll and Chat, a time to be silent. The interesting thing about music is that music is made up of silences. Wow. I thought it was made up of sounds of instruments. Yes, but there's a silence between each sound. And that's how the music is built. A time to be silent and a time to speak. So then the big question is, what's the advantage of all of this? Humankind has been observing times since we became conscious on this planet that there were sunrises and sunsets, and they happened every day, more or less the same time, little variations. And then we realized there were equinoxes. We just had one a couple of days ago. And we realized there was a summer solstice and a winter solstice. And how to deal with all of this. The huge question, the mystery of mankind on the planet, to understand and probe the mysteries. And then there's this beautiful line of a people that's recognizing their Creator who has redeemed himself to them. I have considered the task that God has appointed for the sons of men to be busied about. I have considered the task. So we have a task in this earth. And I have considered the task that God has appointed. So God's in the picture. We don't control the times. We can't change the date of the equinox. This year was the 22nd of September, about 3:30 p.m. here on our clock, when the sun was over the equator. We didn't control it, we couldn't change it. There was an engineer who put the whole cosmos together, you know. The task that God has appointed for the sons of men to be busied about. He has made everything appropriate to its time. There's a beautiful contemplation. Everything appropriate to its time. So nighttime is appropriate for sleeping. And some people have to make the sacrifice to get up and look after the baby, or do a night shift in an industrial process that can't be stopped. It will be prohibitively expensive to stop it and restart it the next morning. Or chemical processes that need days and days to continue before they're complete. And so somebody has to do the sacrifice and do the night shift. Receptionists here at Magdala and Notre Dame, you know, I really admired those people. Every morning I get up and there was somebody there all night. At the airports, you get in there at 5 o'clock in the morning for an early flight, but there are people already there 2 hours before, making sure it's clean. A girl at the desk having the ticket ready when there used to be tickets. You know, it's amazing a time. God, you have made everything appropriate to its time. And you have put the timeless into their hearts. So our hearts want to be above time, transcend time, beyond time. What a beautiful reflection. And then there's this very humbling line, which is so true, and humility is truth, you know. And it's good to live in reality, to live in truth, not to live in fake news, not to live in that are we living under the clouds, in the darkness, you know. To live in the truth, without men's ever discovering from beginning to end the work which God has done. We live in a mystery. And we're still probing the mystery. And this time of Corona is a huge question mark for all of us. And so Psalm 144 is delightful at this point. And the line we have, the chorus line is, "Blessed be the Lord my rock. Blessed be the Lord my rock. My stronghold, my shield in whom I trust." And this extraordinary line, and it comes up more than once in Scripture. Lord, what is the human being that you notice? The children that you take thought of them. We're like a breath. Our day is like a passing shadow. And that's an awareness of time in a bigger framework. Then, like, who planted this tree? I have no idea. And those mountains, when did they start? And we're just a passing shadow. They were there long before us, and they'll be there long after us. There are actually monuments up in the Golan, not monuments, but they're structures, kind of monuments probably. They're called dolmens. And for me, that's the proof that the Irish used to be here before, because we have a dolmen near our house that's between 5,000 to 6,000 years old, so that's before the Egyptian pyramids. But once you start reckoning in this framework, we're back before the time of Abraham, and that seems to be like yesterday in geological history. So, we're a passing shadow. Blessed be the Lord my rock. I'm a passing shadow, but the Lord is my rock. And he has a sense of timelessness in my heart that's calling out for so much more. So people, you've heard lots of birds and lots of words. And it's time, as we wait for the sun to appear, to present our special guest. So, I don't know, where is the lady who walks on the water? Where is the lady who walks on the water? Well, she does it with a paddleboard. It's Kathleen. And she came all the way from Tiberias this morning, just down there. To join the Sunrise Stroll and chat, to say hello to you, because she has something in her heart to share. Something beautiful that's going to happen all the month of October here in Magdala. Well, around the whole Holy Land, actually. I shouldn't talk anymore. We're here where we honor ladies. So the paddleboard lady from the Sea of Galilee, Kathleen Nichols, consecrated woman. Why don't you say 2 words about yourself first, Kathleen? She's telling me very politely, and you all can see that she wants the microphone, so perfect. You can even flip it on if you want.
I'll just hold it as long as the sound is okay. Good morning, Father Kelly. It's just always a blessing to be here in the Stroll and Chat, because to share the beauty of Magdala with all of you is something that we all have in our hearts. We're blessed to be here. And it's just an hour's walk to Tiberias, where we live. I had to take the car this morning, however. So I will certainly let you know as soon as the sun comes out over those clouds.
We want to see it here in the window.
See, Father has his strategies. Well, actually, before I mention what's happening in October, but many of you may have heard of, I would like to just make a reflection also on the book of Qoheleth. There's a woman in the Old Testament there's many women that I admire immensely. One of them is Queen Esther. And, she was in a moment of difficulty, certainly for her own people. And remember that her own family member told her, let yourself be taken into the king's palace. God is behind that. There's something that he has in mind. There's a time for everything. And so she became a wife of the king and his favorite in that sense. And because of that, she was able to save her people from destruction, because there was a whole plot, to kill the Jewish people. So one of the things that we often attribute to Queen Esther is, I was born for this. There's actually a song about that, a beautiful Christian song. I was born for this moment. And so if we think about this time, this weird time of coronavirus, the different difficulties that we might face in life, or the joys that we have, the places where we find ourselves, myself here in Magdala, we were made for this. Certainly, as Father Kelly mentioned, there are many things that God permits, but isn't it all embraced in his providential plan? And so because of that, we have that great grace, as it says in the Psalms, who is man? Who is mankind that God would even consider him? Well, he's been given free will. We've been given free will. And so in this place that we've been put, in this time that we live, we have the ability to love. And that's what makes us great. That's what is the blessing. So we were made for this. Now, to be faithful to the reason why Father Kelly invited me to this beautiful morning, as I watch these, they look like loons that are coming, just flying across the sky. They're off in the distance now. I wanted to invite all of you to sign up. Father Kelly will put on his Facebook, as well as on Magdala Facebook, a link to join us October 1st through 31st. For Catholics, we consider this the month of the Rosary. And the Rosary actually has 4 traditional mysteries, or sets of mysteries, of Jesus' life. And what that means is we spend some time, about 2 to 3 minutes, which is about the time it takes to pray a decade of the Rosary, to enter into a specific mystery of Christ's life. You know, there are innumerable mysteries. His whole life is a mystery. Our life is a mystery, really. So there are different moments where we take these times of Christ's life to prayer. And what we do during this month of the Rosary is we will sit in what John Paul II calls the School of Mary. And she is going to help us to see Jesus the way she was able to see him, from the time that he was conceived in her womb and she watched him grow in her own womb, when he was born, as he grew up as a boy, as she witnessed his public ministry, his passion and his death, and of course the mysteries of the beginning of the church and beyond. And so we will spend more than just the traditional 20 mysteries of Jesus' life in the Rosary. We're extending that to 31 different moments in Christ's life. All these moments can be seen or contemplated in situ, in the same place where they happened, or at least close to where they happened, according to tradition and archaeology and history, here in the Holy Land. And so we're very happy to take you around with us, since pilgrims aren't able to join us in these moments of lockdown and the airports are closed and we can't have you with us, but we want to bring you the grace in this time, in this moment, to travel with us throughout the Holy Land. And we will be coming to or traveling to different places in the Holy Land. And when we go there, it's very simple. What we will do is give a brief introduction of where we're at, historically speaking, and also in relation to Christianity with our roots in Jewish history. And then we will have a brief meditation, a contemplation. Soter's protecting us from all these birds that are coming in this morning. I'm sure all of you know our dog, Soter. And so after our reflection, we'll be praying a decade of the Rosary. And that means that we'll be praying 10 Hail Marys and an Our Father, and also a Glory Be, placing all of those reflections into God's hands, and also taking the hand of Mary as she walks us through what's happening in those mysteries. So please do join us. And again, Father promised me that he would put the link both on Instagram and Facebook and all of his other social media platforms. And so we hope you can join us. Again, my name is Kathleen Nichols, and Father Eamon will actually be celebrating the Masses that whole month. In conjunction with myself, I'll be going out to different places here in the Holy Land, and he'll be staying here in Magdala faithfully, because how could we miss our stroll and chat every morning? And also adding to the reflections in the holy sites, a homily, a reflection in his homily. So thank you, Father Eamon.
You're welcome, Kathleen. So happy that you are here. And I think it's nice that you announced this here at the Sea of Galilee, where all these mysteries of Jesus, well, not all of them, but many of them unfolded in a very powerful way for the world. And now I'm not sure if the sun is going to come out on time for us, but you see that it's getting closer, so we're happy about that. But that's the way it is in life. There's a time for everything. A time for the sunrise and a time for clouds. And that's very special, very beautiful. And so we're at the beginning of something beautiful. Apparently Kathleen is planning also that we'll do some talks for the introduction. And this is all a whole separate thing, just as Kathleen said, the Sunrise Stroll and Chat stays in its place, God willing, as always. And there's a time for Sunrise Stroll and Chat, and there's a time for extras, like this virtual pilgrimage that Kathleen will be taking you on around the Holy Land. So there's a time for everything. And we wish you many, many blessings. We still have another moment or two. We'll see if the sun shows its face. What do you think? Do you think it's going to come out? What do you guys think? Are we going to have the sunrise this morning? Are you going to see the real sun? But there it's getting pretty close, But that cloud actually grew a lot more since we started, because over here the amount of cloud over the Golan was not there when we started. You see? That's all extra. I don't know how it came there. These atmospheric conditions, I'm not the meteorologist, so I can't tell you how that happens.
May I suggest why it happens, Father?
You go ahead.
Well, I am a biochemist, but I won't give the meteorological explanation, but there is a great deal of humidity. There always a lot of humidity in this area this morning. The humidity was up to 88% or 91% a little bit earlier. So that moisture will come and it'll form clouds. And there's also, it's been very hot. There's dust in the air. Those particles form around that dust. And that's what makes clouds. And it's very close to the Feast of Tents or Tabernacles or Sukkot, which they say in Hebrew. And there's a tradition from time memorial. In other words, there's a time for everything. There's also a time for rain. And it usually rains for the first time during the Feast of Sukkot. And whoever bet on the fact that you would see the sun is correct. Here it comes over those clouds. Or in the midst of those clouds, rather.
So you got your wish. Here you have a little sunrise. I didn't really think it was going to be this late, so I took a risk on starting a little bit early. But it worked out. I am happy. But the Instagram people will get a bit more of sun right now in a moment. I don't have the link in the text I posted. It was actually in the link for yesterday, but then there was a change in plans yesterday. So you'll have that, God willing, this morning. In the next hour, I will post the link inside the description for this morning, the Sunrise Stroll and Chat. And there is the sunrise. And we are so happy. And we give a big thank you to Kathleen for her presence here this morning. And
Thank you.
Kathleen, you behaved so well, we'll invite you back, okay?
Oh, that would be wonderful. It's always a blessing for me to be with you, Father Kelly.
You're in the Sea of Galilee and for the people. So we're delighted that this worked out. So this is absolutely, I think this is a good, this is a good moment for one of those screenshots, there, so that Kathleen can have a memory of that. God bless you all. See you later, alligators.
After a while, crocodiles.